This is Alan Rodoru. He's 15 years old and a third-year student at the Grand Fencing School. While he's practicing outside one day, some boys mock his swordsmanship and note that it's the worst. Alan is not very good with a sword and, to be honest, kind of feels like a wretch. Anyway, as he swings his sword for the 999th time, one of the boys watching him throws a plastic water bottle at him. He says that's not a place for Alan to practice. He should get out of there. Not wanting any trouble, Alan replies that he understands before stopping with his training. At that moment, he thinks about how the other students make fun of his strength and call him the failed swordsman. Since Alan was a little boy, he dreamed of becoming a swordsman. His mother supported him and saved up all the money she had to pay for the school fees. But because she had to save up so much, she didn't have enough to pay for her own food. For that, Alan will forever be grateful. Moments later, Alan heads to an alley so as not to disturb anyone while he's practicing. Unfortunately, he's found by a guy named Dodriel, who criticizes him in front of two girls. Dodriel can't believe that Alan will make another futile effort today, saying he feels sorry for him and that he'll give him some advice since he doesn't want to see him practice anymore. "You have no talent," stresses Dodriel, "and you have no future in wielding a sword." The guy adds that Alan's parents would be happier if he left their school and studied for a normal job. Annoyed, Alan turns his back on Dodriel and makes it clear that it doesn't matter to him what he thinks. He just wants to be left alone. But then, Dodriel crosses the line when he mentions Alan's parents and says they made a trashy son who doesn't even know how to use a sword. Like father, like son, right? Dodriel thinks Alan is just like his trashy parents. And naturally, that's something our boy won't just accept. He demands Dodriel to take back everything he said, emphasizing how great of a person his mother is because she took care of him all by herself. He won't let anyone call her trash. Seeing that he pissed Alan off, Dodriel continues to insult him and states that trash will always be trash. This time, Alan isn't able to control himself and charges at the guy, only to be kicked so hard and knocked down. Because Alan wasn't able to dodge the kick, Dodriel once again calls him a piece of garbage. Enraged, Alan challenges Dodriel to a duel, leaving the girls watching them in disbelief. And just like them, the arrogant guy is surprised too. After all, the failed swordsman, Alan, wants to go up against him, the master swordsman of the school. Alan adds that if he wins, Dodriel will have to withdraw everything he said about his parents. That only makes Dodriel and the girls laugh. Still, he agrees with Alan and promises to take back all the hurtful things he said if he loses. Not only that, he'll even bow to Alan. But if he wins, he wants Alan to leave their school. Dodriel thinks it's a good deal, for in a duel, both parties usually bet something of equal value, something everyone knows. Alan is aware of that too, but he doesn't think that bet is equal in value. Realizing Alan doesn't understand the situation, Dodriel tells him that leaving the school has no value because he's not worth a thing. With no other choice, Alan just accepts Dodriel's condition. He then hurriedly leaves and goes to the forest to continue practicing, wanting to train even harder for his duel with Dodriel tomorrow at 9 in the morning. Alan got the chance to attend the academy, and in order to improve, he must train a lot. His opponent, Dodriel, is the true fencing master. In just 1 year, he became an expert-level student and has never had a rival. Alan will have to fight him and give it his all, so understandably he can't help but be scared. He isn't even sure if he has a chance of winning, but if he wants to succeed, he shouldn't think that way. He knows Dodriel is 100 times stronger than he is, but he will do everything to make the guy regret insulting his mother. Right now, Alan needs to focus on his training because time is running short. Then, eventually, he throws his sword out of frustration and realizes how silly he is. Deep inside, he knows he can't possibly win. So what is he even doing? As his knees give away, Alan thinks about the thing that he's lacking. Strength. He wants to defeat Dodriel. But what can he do when he's not strong? As if on cue, an old man appears before Alan and tells him he shouldn't give up. When he looks up, the old man asks him what's wrong. The stranger also assures Alan he can talk to him if he has any concerns. Naturally, Alan first asks who he is. Instead of answering the question, the old man tells Alan to make a guess. When the boy remarks that he looks like the Hermit of Time, the old man says that's not a bad answer. A bit hesitant, Alan asks the hermit if he can really talk to him, to which the old man replies that sometimes talking to someone makes a person feel better, so he shouldn't hold back. With that, Alan shares that he's a member of the great fencing school right now. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any talent, and people call him the failed swordsman. His mother, who lives in town, took care of him by herself. and supported his dream of becoming a fencing master. She's a great person, so Alan wants to do his best for her even if everyone is making fun of him. But although he's been training hard, he's sure that his efforts will be meaningless. When asked by the hermit what happened, he reveals that there's a guy at school known as the Master Swordsman. He isn't sure why, but Dodriel always bullies him. Before, Alan would just ignore his words, but he can't accept that Dodriel called his mother trash. There's no way he'll forgive him. And before he knew it, he challenged Dodriel to a duel. The guy made the condition that if Alan lost, he'd have to leave their school. Alan doesn't think it's fair since his condition was only for Dodriel to take back what he said about his mother. He knows that the difference between their strengths is big, so he probably won't win. It's not that he's worried about leaving school, though. No. Alan just wants to make sure Dodriel won't have anything to say about his mother again. The Hermit of Time understands Alan, telling him he thinks he can get stronger. Then he takes out the 100 million year button, saying if Alan presses it, he'll travel to a different world and spend millions of years there. In addition, Alan doesn't need to worry about things like lifespan because he can have fruitful training. He's going to have a house as a gift, and it comes with a very large bathroom. That's not all. Alan can eat a lot of food because there's an unlimited magical food pantry. All this is possible by just pressing this button, the hermit says. But Alan just picks up his sword and continues to train. Confused, the hermit checks if Alan heard everything he told him and asks if he wants to press the button. Alan thinks it would be great if what the old man said was true, but he's hesitant to press the button even if the hermit assures him he will not regret it. If he presses the button once, everything will be resolved. After millions of years of training, it will be possible for him to defeat Dodriel. Alan isn't sure if pressing the button is a good idea, but he presses it anyway. Then, all of a sudden, he finds himself in a different location. Is this a joke? The button seemed like nothing but a lie, but Alan notes there's no sun in that place. Despite that, there's so much light in that world and no shadows anywhere. If what the hermit told him was true, the clock that he sees suspended in the air will keep going until 100 million years have passed. The thought that he'll be able to defeat Dodriel after training in that place for 100 million years excites Alan. He plans to take advantage of every second, for that is a great opportunity. Then, moments later, Alan gets hungry and enters his house to look for something to eat. He didn't expect the house to be that big, but that only means he can use it as much as he wants. In the kitchen, Alan finds a lot of stuff used for cooking. The only problem is he doesn't know how to use them. However, it isn't long before he finds the magical pantry that contains all sorts of food. Starving, Alan tries one tomato and is surprised by its flavor, so he tries the other fruits and vegetables before deciding to take a bath. Just like the hermit said, the bathroom is really huge. After cleaning himself up, Alan heads to his room and lies on his bed, acknowledging how amazing that place is. At that moment, he's sure he'll become a great swordsman. 10 years later, Alan has begun to understand the art of fencing. He's overcome his fatigue and learned how to wield the sword properly, and he's also mastered the art of transmitting the strength of the feet to the hips and of the hips to the sword. The perception of his surroundings has also become a lot better. In other words, Alan has improved. A lot. By wielding his sword and attacking so quickly, he's made the sound of a swing disappear. After 100 years, Alan has learned new movements. He's given them names, and he thinks he's creating his own style. After 1,000 years, Alan doesn't feel well because he's been doing the same things over and over again. He's exhausted. At the same time, he misses his mother and wonders if she's okay. It's the first time he really feels lonely. 2,000 years later, everything that Alan eats is tasteless for him. It's like he's eating stones, but no matter how frustrated he gets, he has to continue his training. After 5,000 years, Alan is still at it. He spent all that time training, but he isn't sure if he's actually getting stronger. Aside from that, he's wondering if the time in his world stopped. He's also curious if he'll forget everything when he wakes up. As more years pass, Alan only thinks about one thing, and that is to get stronger. He must remember that everyone calls him the failed swordsman, and most importantly, he must get back at Dodriel. At this point, all he can do is keep swinging his sword. After 10,000 years, Alan learns a new training method, which is fighting against himself. It's a perpetual war that has no end, but Alan finally gets his passion for swordsmanship back. He believes that fighting with himself has made him grow up as a person, but he's still not sure if he can beat Dodriel. That guy is a genius who shows up once every 100 years. He is a disciple of the famous art of the fencing style, Shigureryu, and among those practicing it, he is considered one of the best. Right now, Alan can't beat Dodriel because he doesn't have a special talent. He must hurry. That aside, the time flow in that world is a strange thing. If Alan concentrates, he can make time go faster. And before he realizes it, his time in that place has come to an end. it's over. Although he trained for millions of years, Alan failed to discover his talent. He didn't find that special something. As he returns to his original world, Alan finds himself back in the forest. While he's staring at the moon, the hermit asks how he is and what his impressions are after handling the sword for 100 million years. Not sure what to say at first. Alan admits it was all very odd. The hermit says everything should be fine since the 100 million year training has paid off, but Alan points out he doesn't feel any of that. To see is to believe, the Hermit of Time answers, urging Alan to try wielding his sword. When Alan grips the handle of his blade, he feels something strange, as if his hand was driven by a force inside of him. Then he swings his sword and manages to destroy some trees with just the impact. Isn't that wonderful? Initially, Alan thinks he's only dreaming, but it becomes clear to him that he isn't when he swings his sword once more. It's like he's born again. Still, Alan doesn't think his strength is enough to beat Dodriel, especially since the guy has the skills of Shiguraryu art. He believes that in order to defeat Dodriel, it will take a lot of talent and special something. He wonders if the hermit would let him press the 100 million year button again, and surprisingly, the old man says it's okay. He adds that Alan can press that button as many times as he likes. As he takes the button, Alan thanks the hermit and vows that this time he will find his special something to defeat Dodriel. Later, Alan wakes up to a voice telling him to get up. As he sits, he has no idea what time, day, month, and year it is. He's also confused because the Hermit of Time is nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, the person who woke Alan up, Paula, is worried that he's not okay because he looks like he just had a nightmare. Apologizing, Alan tells Paula he doesn't remember what happened yesterday. So Paula orders him to go back to the dormitory and quickly eat breakfast. As the woman scolds him, Alan wonders if everything that happened to him was just a dream. But then, he notices the 100 million year button on the ground and picks it up, deciding to press it again. However, nothing happens, which is why Alan assumes he just had a dream. He tosses the button and follows Paula, not knowing he broke the item the hermit gave him. Back in the dorm, Alan thanks Paula for the food he finished in a matter of minutes. Paula is glad that Alan liked what she prepared for him, but she points out that it's already 7:50 a.m. and asks if he doesn't need to go to school. Alan remembers that his match against Dodriel is supposed to take place at 9 o'clock, but he knows that even if he's fast, it will take him about 3 hours to get to school. He'll surely be late. With no time to waste, Alan informs Paula he's leaving and immediately gets out of there. He runs like there's no tomorrow, and when he reaches the school, he heads to the teacher's office and tells one of the professors about his match with Dodriel. When the professor checks the paper on the table, he states there's still an hour left before the start of the fight and shows Alan the time. It's only 8 a.m. As he goes outside, Alan tries to understand how he managed to reach the school in time. Then he makes his way to the gym, fixes his uniform, and slaps himself a couple of times to make sure he's ready. He reminds himself to concentrate on the match, and with all his strength, he'll stand up to Dodriel. Although he probably won't win, Alan doesn't intend to give up. Eventually, it's time for Alan to open the gym doors. He's greeted by the taunting of the students who went to the gym to see him lose, and they're excited that the worst swordsman in their school will finally disappear forever. Of course, the students cheer for Dodriel and ask him to destroy Alan. In the middle of the gym, Dodriel stands and expresses disbelief that Alan actually came. When asked why there are so many people there, Dodriel claims he has no idea and says he's surprised too. Then he adds that it seems like someone told all the students about their match before laughing. Obviously, that someone is him. Alan is sure that Dodriel told everyone about their duel because he wants to humiliate him in front of them. Around the two, the students are shouting for Dodriel to beat Alan. They find it ridiculous that he's training every day and stress that he's not fit to use a sword. As if that isn't enough, they think Alan should be grateful to Dodriel because he will lose to one of the best swordsmen in their school. At exactly 9 o'clock, the professor Alan talked to earlier shows up and announces it's time to start the match. Alan can't believe that the professor will not stop the fight, so he assumes the school is against him too. Then the man asks if both participants are ready. Taking out his sword, Dodriel makes it clear he'll make Alan suffer, cry, and beg for mercy. On the other hand, Alan swears to give Dodriel what he deserves. Alan doesn't think he can win, but at that point, he can't back down. He's aware that Dodriel's sword is very offensive, which means it will only be difficult for him to do a front-to-head attack. It will be better for him to dodge Dodriel's strikes before coming at the guy the moment he sees an opening. Equipped with his sword and burning fighting spirit, Alan stares at his opponent and waits for him to charge. Surprisingly, the cocky guy isn't moving. In fact, fear is written all over his face, and it's as if there's something frightening before him that only he can see. He asks Alan what he's done, but our boy has no idea what he's talking about. Pissed, Dodriel shouts at Alan not to play dumb with him, but still struggles to move. Since Dodriel isn't usually like that, the students watching them quickly notice what's going on. They want him to beat the failed swordsman, but Alan can tell that he's being very patient. Then, seconds later, he realizes that Dodriel is going to strike. For some reason, Alan sees his every movement in slow motion. He deduces that Dodriel is going to use his best attack against him. And sure enough, the guy unleashes Shigararyu, Speed Fire Attack. Alan notes that it's very fast and it's impossible for him to escape, but he manages to remain unharmed. Needless to say, Dodriel can't believe what just happened. It's the first time Alan dodged all of his attacks, but his next attack will be 3 times faster. He tells Alan he won't be lucky this time. Shigararyu's secret technique, Eternal Break. Despite what Dodriel said, Alan isn't sure that he's really gotten faster. Like I said before, he can see the guy moving in slow motion. As Dodriel moves toward him, all Alan can think about is how he always makes fun of others. Then, he lifts his sword and strikes Dodriel as hard as he can, sending him crashing against the wall. Naturally, the audience can only stare at the defeated Master Swordsman. Just like everyone in the gym, Alan is in shock too. He realizes that in a single move, he struck Dodriel 7 times. As the professor declares that Alan is the winner, it dawns on him that he did train in a different world for millions of years, and that the whole thing wasn't a dream. Several days have passed since Alan's duel with Dodriel, and things have changed a bit. While Alan is busy training, the same boys who mocked him days ago see him and call him a cheater. As it turns out, there's a rumor spreading that he cheated when he fought Dodriel, and as a result, the other students are becoming even crueler. Cope, losers. Anyway, the boy who threw a plastic water bottle at Alan the other day throws another bottle at him, saying he must have done something shady to win. But then, Alan easily deflects the bottle with his sword, and the 2 boys get hit in the face with it. So there, the students no longer insult Alan to his face. Instead, they've started speaking ill of him behind his back. They believe that he used dirty tricks to win the duel, and that he's tainted the name of their school. Taint this copium, boys. Millions of years ago, Alan couldn't have endured a situation like that. But now, he's just not bothered anymore. On his way back to the dormitory, Alan sees a woman walking with her son. That reminds him of his mother, and as he looks at them, he can only wonder how she's doing. When Alan was a baby, his father died from a terrible epidemic. From that moment on, his mother worked very hard every day and took care of him on her own. With his mother in mind, Alan decides to go home for the next vacation and buy some souvenirs. It's been a long time, so he's sure his mother will be surprised when she sees him. Before that, though, he needs to check how much money he has left. To his disappointment, he only has a few coins. If he really wants to go home, he needs to find a job. At the dormitory later, Paula tells Alan she knows a place where he can make money. Then she takes a flyer and gives it to an excited Alan, who gets confused when he learns she's talking about a tournament of swords. Paula states it's a tournament for swordsmen held in the city of Orbis once a month. She wants Alan to believe in himself, saying the tournament has competitors fight against one another to demonstrate their skill with the sword. In addition, the champion will be awarded an exceptional prize. Only a great warrior can earn it. Although it will be hard for him to place first, Alan thinks he'll be able to win some matches. He also admits that it's a good idea, but to register, he must pay 1,000 gold coins. Thankfully, Paula is willing to give him the money he needs to join the tournament. All she wants in exchange is for Alan to try hard and do his best. As he takes the money from Paula, Alan thanks her and promises he'll do everything he can to win. After a few days, Alan reaches the city of Orbis. It isn't long before he finds the registration area, where a bunch of mean-looking swordsmen wait. When they look at Alan, the boy freezes in place. Then, he continues walking and notes that, without a doubt, everyone there is a much better swordsman than him. He can't help but think that maybe he was too optimistic. That aside, he needs to register first. Unfortunately, Alan bumps into a tall and muscular guy named Bubble, who calls him a brat and tells him that that isn't a place for a walk. One of the ladies he's with immediately diffuses the tension, but at the same time she tells him it's wrong to mock a boy as weak as Alan. Because the boy has a sword on his hip, Bubble assumes he'll be participating in the tournament. That's something the other lady finds hard to believe, telling Alan he'll have no chance in a tournament like that. The young swordsman doesn't say anything, and only stares at the people mocking him, thinking about how rude they are. Then, Bubble takes note of Alan's defiant look and asks if he wants to fight him. Alan knows that if he gets into trouble, he may not be able to enter the tournament. So, even though he didn't do anything wrong, he bows and apologizes to Bubble. It's because he doesn't want to disappoint Paula, who has a lot of faith in him. Afterward, Alan walks away and just ignores Bubble, who continues to insult him. But bro, you can't be named Bubble and be a jerk at the same time. You gotta pick a struggle. Alan proceeds to look for the registration booth, and soon finds it. He informs the receptionist that he wants to register for the swordsmanship tournament before paying for it. After that, the lady asks Alan his name and sword style, which leaves him embarrassed. He doesn't want to say it, but Alan is forced to tell the receptionist that he has his own style. Upon hearing that, the receptionist, including those around them, snicker. Once he's done with registration, Alan decides to explore the city. While doing so, he thinks about how ashamed he was to tell the receptionist that he has his own sword style. Only a crazy person would say that they use their own style, but Alan doesn't want to dwell on that anymore. Right now, he must concentrate on the tournament. Since there's some time before it starts, Alan wants to practice a bit with his sword and intends to find a place where no one can see him. Then, as he searches for a secluded area, Alan turns to look at the lady who just walked past him. The first thing he notices is her beauty, but he also wonders if she'll be in the tournament. Later, a woman in a black suit arrives at the location of the tournament and tries not to attract attention as she searches for another great swordsman, but one guy immediately notices her. Then, Mayor Orbis welcomes the participants and doesn't say much before asking who wants to see some blood. While Alan is shocked, the people can't wait to see the blinding brilliance of swords clashing. "This is war," the mayor declares, "where the strongest are pitted against each other." Mayor Orbis wants the swordsmen to proudly display their skills during that unforgettable tournament. Just like that, the atmosphere completely changed. At this point, Alan is sure he'll be eaten alive. After the welcoming address, all the participants are asked to proceed to the waiting area. Then the mayor apologizes to the president of the Academy of 1,000 Swords, Leia, who's also one of the 5 masters, for their delay in greeting her. Yep, she's the woman trying to be discreet earlier. Mayor Orbis admits he didn't expect she'd be joining them today. It's not a big deal for Leia, though. In fact, she's embarrassed that they've prepared a VIP seat for her. She asks the mayor to just give her a normal chair, but the man politely refuses and once again apologizes for the simple place they've prepared for someone of her status. Leia doesn't argue anymore, for she knows she has no other choice but to stay there. You guys might be wondering who the 5 masters are. Every swordsman who is worth anything knows of their existence, and Leia stands at the forefront, a prominent authority with vast social influence. Leia tells Mayor Orbis he doesn't need to worry so much about her, saying she only came to watch the tournament as a headhunter. Because of that, the mayor assumes she's already set her sights on the previous winner. Leia replies that he is right, adding that she'd like to see the grand prize winner, Rose Valencia, and besides, she's hoping to find a hidden gem around there. Finally, the Master of Ceremonies, Fina, informs everyone that she'll explain the rules of the tournament. The rounds consist of one-on-one combat. The participants will win when their opponent is unable to continue fighting or is thrown out of the arena. Of course, killing one's opponent is forbidden. If anyone violates this rule, they will be disqualified. The rules are very simple, right? Now, Fina will pick the competitors for the first fight. Bubble Domingo versus Alan Rodoru. As Fina asks the participants to make their way to the arena, Alan tries to confirm that he's really fighting in the first match. Actually, he wanted to see other swordsmen fight first, but he should forget about that now. When Alan gets to the arena, Bubble expresses how surprised he is before swearing he'll smash his face in. He also notes how foolish the boy is for entering that tournament. Of all the people Alan has to face, it's the brute he bumped into earlier. According to the information Fina has, Bubble uses the Congo sword style. The guy swings his sword with such force that a single blow will tear his opponent to pieces. For those who don't know, it's an ancient and powerful sword style. On the other hand, Alan has his own style. Fina says he doesn't use a real sword style, which causes everyone to laugh. The audience then makes fun of Alan, telling him Bubble will beat him without breaking a sweat. Just like them, Bubble insults Alan too, and laughs at him because he's sure the kid won't stand a chance against him. Alan thinks it's regrettable, but he admits Bubble isn't wrong about a single word he said. Although it's a fact that he's become more powerful, he can only be compared to the people at his school. This tournament is different, and Alan isn't sure if he's ready. Despite that, our boy doesn't want to worry about the outcome. He only intends to fight with all he has, and with that, he bows to show he's ready. Meanwhile, Leia is impressed that Alan isn't giving up, and she thinks having determination like that at the boy's age is quite rare. Eventually, Fina declares it's time to start the fight. As Alan draws his sword, Bubble does the same and charges at him. He plans to strike Bubble before the guy can hit him, and he'll start with the first move he created during his training. One sword-style flying shadow. With that, Alan sends Bubble flying out of the arena and lying unconscious on the ground. Everyone watching stares at Alan in disbelief, including the pretty lady he saw earlier. In the blink of an eye, the match is over. The winner, Alan Rodoru. As Fina raises Alan's hand, she states that it's an unbelievable turn of events. She remarks that the little swordsman has won with just one move, but Alan is having a hard time believing he defeated Bubble because his strike hit the big guy with so much force. Alan realizes that he's not really what he used to be. Afterward, Alan continues to win with overwhelming strength. 5 fights, 5 victories. Then, at last, Fina informs the audience that it's time for the final match of the tournament. The 2 swordsmen left standing are Alan and Rose Valencia, the girl he saw before the tournament began. As everyone in the city knows, Rose is the heir to an exceptionally famous secret sword style called Okaito. So far, with grace and elegance, she's won all her fights without a scratch. Unlike her, Alan is a self-taught swordsman who doesn't use any known style. However, Fina stresses he should not be underestimated. This time, many people are rooting for Alan. Some of them even want to be his disciples, while others only wish for him to notice them. It's the first time anyone has cheered for Alan, but he doesn't want to be distracted by that. His goal is to focus on the match and win, and again he bows to his opponent to show respect and that he's ready. In addition, he tells Rose it's a pleasure to cross swords with her. "The pleasure is mine," Rose replies as she bows to Alan too. As he stares at his opponent, Alan notes that he's heard of Rose and her achievements many times before. To put it simply, her reputation truly precedes her. During the previous tournament, she was not hit once. Her victory was simply flawless. As a bounty hunter, she's captured dangerous criminals and handed them over to the Holy Knights. What's even more impressive is that she's also 15. Just like Alan, she truly has an unparalleled talent with the sword. But anyway, Alan doesn't know where to look because Rose's clothes are a bit revealing. Her skills are incredible, though. With such a delicate-looking body, she was able to easily defeat her opponents, who were much bigger than her. Rose's appearance is deceiving, so Alan needs to be careful. Based on what he's seen, the lady seems to fight by countering her opponent's moves. That means attacking without thinking will be worthless for Alan. Moments later, Fina gives the signal to start the match. She comments that the fighters are measuring each other up, and both are looking for the other to move even slightly. For starters, Alan wants to use his flying shadow and wait for Rose to make a move. After a few seconds, Rose charges at Alan, and she swiftly closes the distance between them. Okaito style Sakura Flash! Unfazed, Alan meets Rose's sword with his blade and quickly retaliates when he sees an opening. Sad to say, the girl manages to avoid his attack. Then she uses Sakura Shadow to defeat Alan. But again, the guy blocks her strike. As they continue to fight, Alan thinks about how he thought he had an opening, but Rose was able to dodge and even counterattack, which Alan finds unbelievable. For the next few minutes, Rose and Alan do nothing but exchange blows. The people notice that Rose is actually having a hard time beating the new guy, making them want to be Alan's disciples even more. Then, Alan hits Rose so hard and sends her backward. This is where the grand prize winner gets mad. She demands to know who taught her opponent how to use a sword, to which Alan replies that he only learned on his own. Understandably, Alan's answer pisses Rose off even more. She tells him not to lie to her, for she sees tremendous dedication and experience in his sword. She also adds that behind every strike is the weight of many years of training. To be fair, every word Rose has said is true. Alan spent 100 million years in a different world, and that time has been etched into the steel of his sword. I mean, who would believe that story? Alan tries to explain to Rose that she has the wrong impression of him, but the lady is having none of it. She tells Alan he can play dumb all he wants, but as the rightful successor to the Okaito style, a secret art passed down for generations, she vows she'll win the fight. Rose wants Alan to be ready. "Come on," our boy replies. "Bring it on!" All his life, Alan had heard nothing but insults from other people. But despite that, he never gave up and continued training to become a better swordsman because he wanted to repay his mother, who sacrificed a lot for him. Thanks to the chance given to him by the Hermit of Time, he'd improved more than he could imagine. What he needs to do now is believe in himself and be more confident that he can also do what other good swordsmen can. Those who treated Alan harshly better watch out, for this failed swordsman is a failure no more.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.